get started. I'm really excited to be doing this because this is something that has come up so much recently, and I just feel like it's a topic that I think a lot of people will be able to really benefit from and learn from. And it's always interesting, how you can take from your past experiences and places you've been and just reapply like what you learned, what what your skills. And so I'm really, really excited to be doing this. Welcome everyone who's joining. Feel free to put in the chat where you're joining from. I'm excited to be doing this. Back again for a live after I had a complete and utter fail with live. I was a little bit traumatized and I said, I can't do lives anymore. And I needed a few days to just breathe in and out a few times. And now I'm back with more confidence and ready to embrace whatever technology bumps and humps want to come along the way. So today I want to talk about UX design because for those of you who are getting to know me or who have looked at my profile, you will see that I am a UX designer, UX strategist, whatever word, depending on what company you're working at is, the title. And then depending on what compensation you want, you know how to manipulate the title, right? So as a UX designer, people wonder, okay, so she's doing action mapping, but her expertise is in UX design. What is UX design? What is all this? So I really wanted to take the opportunity to talk a little bit about UX design because it's one of those fields and industries that I feel like has been really misunderstood. And really everyone has the ability to be a UX designer for themselves and for the people that they've been called to serve. So no matter who you are or what hat you're wearing as a person or a spouse or a parent or a child, you're at your job, right? If you're a manager or you're an individual contributor, a leader, whatever you might be, you really have the ability to be a UX designer. So let's start from the beginning. UX designer. What is a UX designer? So funny enough, it stands for user experience design. Why is it not UE? I don't know. Put it in the chat if you know. I get that question all the time. I should just look it up. A user experience designer. So when we talk about a user experience designer, almost always we are referring to somebody who is working in the industry and field of technology, IT, software, a SaaS company, a software as a service, people who offer software. We'll have user experience designers, either in-house or they hire freelance UX designers to help them make their piece of software more user-friendly so that they can, enhance their product or their service and make their customers happy. So what does this look like practically? So if a company has an in-house UX designer because they are a software company, then the job of that UX designer is to either take the existing software and improve it and make it better and more user-friendly and more efficient and easy to use. Or if it's a new piece of software, then the job of that UX designer is to understand what the business is trying to accomplish with the software, what the people who are going to buy that software are looking to get out of it, and then to create that experience. Okay. So a UX designer is really, if you think about it, if we draw it out, which is what we do best here. If we draw out where a UX designer lives, right? So if we look at this Venn diagram, the UX designer really has the opportunity to sit at the heart, in the middle of the business and the user, okay? This is the UX designer. Now, the cool thing about this is that for someone like me who wanted to do something in the business world, right? I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, always wanted to do something in the business world, always wanted to be able to do something related to business strategy, but also likes to work with people and use my creative problem solving skills and just, interact with other people. You really get to do both in this case, because as a UX designer, my job is to understand what is the business, right? What is this business trying to accomplish? What are the business objective goals? What are they offering to their customers, to their users, in this case with technology, right? And I get to understand who are our users, right? What are they looking for? What is their desired outcome? What solution are we providing them? Are we meeting their needs? And is their experience one that they're enjoying, right? For example, think about the last time you went shopping online, okay? And a very common UX use case is an online store. They have a shopping cart icon in the top right-hand corner, and underneath it, it says cart. Sometimes the word cart is clickable. If you click on it, it opens up the cart, but the actual picture of the shopping cart, the icon, is not clickable. That is a very common use case for UX design, a user's experience. The user is sitting there clicking that shopping cart, thinking if they click it a few more times, it's going to open. But in fact, if it doesn't have a link to open up the cart page, it's not going to open, right? So a UX designer can come in and say, did you notice that 20% of your users leave stuff in their cart or shop for a long time, but then don't actually open the cart? You know why? Because the picture of the shopping cart is not clickable, and they get so frustrated with the technology that they give up and they go somewhere else. Okay. Now, back to what is a UX designer, right? So when I was learning about UX design, it sounded to me like an awesome opportunity because this is exactly what I was looking for. I wanted to be able to ultimately help the business achieve their business objective goals, but I also wanted to be able to work with the people that we were called to serve, our customers, people who were relying on us to deliver on the solution that we were paying them for. And so I I remember it was it was one of the first days of my first job. And the company that I was working at brought me in to be not officially in charge of, but to really lead a big redesign of their internal software. They never had a UX designer working at the company before, and they positioned me on the product team. And I came into the company, and I remember one of the first days, there was a meeting with a lot of big team executives, and there I am, and I'm sitting in the meeting, and they're discussing some color changes to the application. Okay, they were going back and forth with different shades of a specific color. Now, when I explained UX design the past couple minutes, did you hear me say anything about color, shadows, typography? No. Okay. So, one of the most common misunderstandings of what UX design is we make things look pretty. Okay. We don't make things look pretty. That is the job of a UI designer, user interface, or a visual designer, or a graphic designer. If you want to get really nitty gritty, the job description definition of user experience, yes, of course, the colors, all of the color, typography, layout, shadows, all that stuff comes in, but that's not our specialty. That's the specialty of a user interface designer to come in, and we work hand in hand, of course. But the UX strategists, what we're responsible for is more understanding the structure of the application, the functionality, the accessibility, the layout. How does a user navigate through the page, through the whole website, right? So we're talking about colors, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh my, I'm not a color person. They're going to ask me because they think that this is my job, right, to make things look pretty. Now, remember, this is for the first couple of days of my job. And up until that point, I really made it my priority to learn about the business. Because first things first, no matter what it is that you do, if you're running a business or if you're working at a company, you got to know what the company does, right? You got to know, who are we? What is it that we're trying to accomplish? How do we accomplish this thing? Who are we servicing? How do we service them? Just like the basics, right? So that really had been my job for the first couple days of being in the job, was to understand, who are we as a company, what are we doing, how do we do it, who are we servicing. And so I knew what the business objective goals were, at least for that quarter, or the coming quarter. And I knew that one of the big goals and desired outcomes for this redesign was to increase the engagement score of the users with a specific piece of software. And all I can tell you is that when they asked me a few minutes later, what do you think, Tamar, about this color change? The first thought that popped into my head that I just blurted out was, I'm not sure that if we make this color change, it's going to make any impact on the business objective goals for the coming quarter. And all of a sudden, everybody like looked up from their pads of paper and they looked at me and they're like, wait, who is this? What does she do? What? They were so confused. And I mean, yeah, not a typical response from a UX designer, but they asked the question again. They said, maybe you didn't understand the question. Like, I was like, I understood the question, but you can ask again. Okay. So what do you think, Tamar, about this color change, right? So I said, in a little bit of, different words, I said, I understand the question. I understand what you're asking. You're asking if we change from this color to this color, do you think it's a good idea? And what I was saying is, what is it that we're trying to accomplish with this redesign, right? In the beginning of the project, we listed out all the desired outcomes, all of our KPIs, all the goals for investing all of this time, money, resources, energy. Like, this was a huge, huge undertaking and investment on the business's end. So what I was trying to bring up in a respectful way, again, first couple of days into my job with no experience, what I was trying to say was, is this change going to create any uh deliver any ROI or have any strategic impact or influence on what it is that we're trying to accomplish with this redesign? You could change the color, like that's fine, but if we're trying to, for example, increase engagement scores, I'm not sure that making this color change is really going to be super valuable or impactful. Now, in some cases, I am not saying that changing colors is not something that should be high on the list. You have to know, depending on the project, this was specific to this case. Okay. There are times that if you make a color change, the entire, engagement score will shoot up 100%. But in this specific case, that was not the case. So I basically said, you know, from a business strategic standpoint and from what it is that we're trying to accomplish through this redesign, I don't think that this change makes any sense. Here's why. Instead, this is what I would do. And that was really, I would say, the introduction to my career as a UX designer. When I sat down at the end of the day and I realized, number one, no one knows what UX designers do here. So I need to figure out how to educate. I don't like to use that word because it implies that I was better than or knew more than, but educate in the way of communicate and teach, or guide. What is UX design? What do I do? How can I provide value to our team now? How can I provide value to our company now? So I realized that very quickly, but I also realized on a more larger scale that the UX practice in general actually started to show itself in different areas of my life. And this is really what I want to focus on and explain, because this is something that I really think everyone, no matter what situation you're in, I really think you can take from this. So what I realized very early on in my career was this gap of alignment between the business strategy, the big picture vision for what the business was trying to do, and what the product team was executing, delivering on, right? If you think about it as I guess if we were to draw let's see here. Okay. So the business, let's say the business is here, right? This is what the business says that they want to do. This is their list of goals, and this is, whatever it is. Okay. This is what the business wants to accomplish. Then they go to the product team. Okay. And they say to the product team, this is what we're trying to accomplish. This is what we want to do. Now, the product team is going to translate that into KPIs and different tasks and different whatever it might be. But ultimately, when they're executing, it's really hard to draw in the air. Got to get my easel here. When they're delivering to the end users, what ideally what we want is for there to be a feedback loop where our users are happy, they're getting what they want, and they're accomplishing the business objective goals that we set out from in the beginning. Right? That's ideal. And so a UX designer's job is to be able to create that experience, to be able to facilitate that alignment between what is the business trying to accomplish and what is the business hoping to see, ROI, whatever it might be, and working with our users to understand what are their frustrations, what are their challenges, what is it about our software that they really enjoy, and what can we focus on more to help them and their needs and help them achieve whatever it is that they're trying to achieve in a more efficient, faster, better way. And so to be able to facilitate this alignment really can fall into the job of a UX designer. Now, most companies and most teams, just to say it as it is, will not allow for this to happen for a UX designer. Meaning, this is an ideal situation. I worked in corporate for a little over 5 years. It almost never happened this way. This is for many different reasons and not a conversation for now, but in an ideal world, a UX designer can sit in the middle and facilitate this alignment between business strategy and product strategy, because the designer can be the voice for and the brain and understanding of, this is what we as a business are trying to do. This is what our users are hoping to get. And this is how we can bridge this gap of alignment with the fact that we have the knowledge of both sides. Okay, now, I remember very clearly last year when I left corporate to open my own UX consulting, I remember thinking to myself, okay, when I leave corporate, and I was thinking that probably for all 5 years of my time there, I loved my job. The corporate environment didn't work for me. When I was thinking about, okay, so when I do open my consulting business, who am I going to want to consult with? And I remember one of the early conversations that I was having with a colleague was, I want to work with either early stage startups or small, maybe mid-size, software businesses, maybe. And I left corporate a year ago. And so while personally it was great for me because I'm married and have two delicious little kids, so it made a lot of sense for me personally, but economically we were like in the heat of a presidential election and it was just not the time. Companies were firing and not hiring and consultants were not being looked at. And so I really had to figure out for myself, okay, what does a UX strategist look like in this economic landscape? Because if anything, UX designers were getting fired, right? I mean, it's kind of like a luxury to have someone really work with the business and the users. If you think about it in the way that most people think about it, it's like this luxury position. Okay. So anyways, I was trying to think about different ways of how do I explain to people, what does a UX designer do? What value can I bring to your company if whatever it is. I was sitting down and I was mapping out with all my sticky notes and on my pads of paper and my whiteboard, and I'm just just writing all the different things things that I do as a UX designer, but results that I was able to bring to the team, to the department, to the company, writing all these things out. And I remember someone saying to me, Tamara, I think you should just drop the UX thing and just go do your workshop facilitation, because in the quest to try to educate people in the company about what UX design is, I ended up falling into workshop facilitation, which ended up being a detour that was the greatest investment of my life, because not only was I able to use workshop facilitation as a tool to be able to engage the rest of the teams and the departments and increase, cross-team, cross-department collaboration, it really ended up becoming one of the main things that I was doing was this workshop design and facilitation, which was really awesome because it was just a lot of fun. Like, it brought meetings, to a whole new level. But in any case, so I was sitting and thinking, okay, so I'm not a UX designer in the sense that I'm not working at a company. I don't have a defined role and position, and I'm not situated on a product team, right? Like, I'm working on my own, but I don't think of myself as a freelance UX designer either, because I don't want people to just send me their files and have me like rearrange it. I want to understand, like, who are they? What are they doing as a business? What are your business objective goals? Who are you servicing? How are you servicing them, right? Like, all those questions that for me sit at the heart of everything. It's the basic fundamental foundation of everything. And no matter who it is I'm working with, that's always the first thing I need to understand is, who are you, right? Who are you? What is it that you're trying to do? And what are you bringing to the table that, doesn't just fit that generic job description or position? So I remember thinking, okay, so maybe it's not, UX is not the right term, because so many people don't even know what user experience design is, right? So I remember I wrote out the three words, user experience design. And I thought, okay, user is because our end user, we're talking specifically with the industry of software technology, IT, fine. But we could say customer, we could say client, we could say student, right? someone you're helping deliver results to. Okay, so that's like the person, the avatar, the persona, whatever it is. Fine. Okay. Design, well, if you think about design, right, just as a general, not like arts and crafts, but if you think of a designer, it's someone who's crafting or creating or building. They're creating something. Okay, so creators. Okay. So now we've got entering this world of more entrepreneurship and solopreneurship. So we've got so a user experience designer could also be a um customer, a client. Okay, let's say client. Okay, so a client experience designer. Okay, client experience creator. Okay, now what about the middle word experience? Well, an experience, what experience are you creating for them, right? What is it that you are helping them, or how are you helping them achieve whatever designed outcome it is that you're delivering to them? And so as I'm mapping out all these things, I realized, okay, what experience am I giving to the team? When I come in as a workshop facilitator and I say, okay, we know as a team that we've got this problem. So we're going to put on our creative problem solving hats. Okay. So we're all creative problem solvers now. Okay. Okay. So we want to get from point A to point B, right? And this is how we're going to do it. So automatically what was happening is I was coming in to the users, okay? In that case, it was, let's just say a team, okay? Let's say it's the executives, fill in the blank, whoever it is, right? I come in and I'm designing this workshop to create an experience where we're going to have fun, be creative problem solvers, and we're going to come out with a list of solutions to whatever that problem is. And I remember just having this aha moment of, woman, what I really am doing is I'm helping people understand user. Who are they? Who am I? What do I do? What am I good at? What am I passionate about? What can I help others achieve? Who have I been called to serve and how can I serve them? Experience. What experience do I want to give these people? Where are they on their journey and how can I help them along the way? And design is, what outcome are they hoping to achieve and what can I design to help them, whether it's a framework or a program or as a coach? How can I be that designer, so to say, for that person? And I was thinking to myself, this is fascinating because there are so many people who user themselves, they don't know. When I can't tell you how many times I've asked someone, okay, tell me like a little bit about who you are and what you do. They started telling me a lot about what they do, but the who you are part, I found they were really getting stuck. So I'm thinking, okay, and I'm trained like I mean, as a workshop facilitator and a UX designer, I'm like fluently, naturally trained to start. I'm asking my questions, right, to just help them really peel away at these layers of who am I. Okay, now experience. What experience do you give to your clients, right? And oftentimes they explain to me the design part, the outcome, whether it's their course that they created or their program or their free guide to making $30,000 in 30 minutes. I don't know, whatever it is, right? But the experience part, almost no one talked about. And that's when I realized, okay, we have to help people understand that they need to know who they are before doing anything. Who are you? Not who did the coach that you paid $30,000 to tell you you should be. Who are you? Where does that identity, where do you lie? Who is Smart Stoltz, right? Who am I? Number one. Number two is, what is the experience that I'm creating for the people who are working with me? What am I experiencing? What are they experiencing? This idea of experience. And then design is, what have I crafted or designed or built? What does that look like? And how am I delivering it to them? So we've got this full picture. We've got the identity, right? We've got the experience, the system, the process, the journey, right? And then the design is the outcome, is whatever that solution is. Okay. So I'm sitting there and this is over the course of weeks, right? and my sticky notes are like so disorganized. I was like going crazy. And I just remember I was feeling a little overwhelmed because I'm like, whoa, like there are so many ways that I could take this like seemingly simple concept of UX design and really bring it out in such a powerful, meaningful way that will resonate with a lot of the people that I was already connected to. So I don't remember what it was that triggered me to open up one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits by James Clear, and I was reading through the first couple pages when I remembered about his 3 layers of behavior change. And I start reading, and he talks about in his book, I don't, do I have it here? Uh, maybe, no. Um, in the 3 layers of behavior change, very quickly, for those of you who don't know, he talks about when a person wants to make a change in their habits, either they don't know um, what to change or how to change it, or they try to change it in the wrong direction. So if you think of it as like 3 circles, and here I am again drawing in the air. Let's just bring my easels to the side here. Okay, so if you think about it, we've got he draws it out with like three circles. Okay, the innermost circle, he says, is identity. Okay, the middle is the system or the process. And the outermost layer is outcome. Okay. Now, when someone wants to change a behavior, either they don't know what to change, or they change it, but in the wrong direction. They change it working from outcome based. They start with the outcome and move inwards, as opposed to starting from the identity circle and moving outwards. So what he basically explains is that while we need all 3 layers of behavior change in order to effectively change whatever habit it is, we need all 3 of them, but we need to change it from the inside out, starting with our identity and knowing who we are, having the system and the process to be able to maintain upkeep and be a structure for our desired outcome, right? So just to make this a little bit more practical and understandable, let's give an example. So let's say I say, I want to lose 5 pounds this month. Okay. Well, here we are right now. We have an outcome. I want to lose 5 pounds. Okay. So I need a system to be able to do this. So I'm going to invest in some online, course that popped up, and they are going to give me the system for how I'm going to lose these 5 pounds in 5 days, in 5 hours. Okay. Now, identity. Well, okay. Where does that come in? Right. Well, once we start to talk about, okay, so 1 second. So I want to lose 5 pounds. Why do I want to lose 5 pounds? Because I don't really feel good about the way that I look. Okay. I've really tried to do it before. I've tried different exercise things. I've tried different programs and stuff, and like nothing has worked. But now it's the summer. It's a little bit more chilled. I think I can do it. And I found a system. I found a program with courses that are, it's known to be one of the best out there. This is the system. It's going to be amazing. But then we come to the identity layer. That's that little voice inside me that says, Tar, you already tried this 100 times. Like, why is this time going to be different? Okay, it's true. You're investing with a better, program and course, and all of these millions of people gave their testimonials. So it's obviously going to work. But do I really believe deep down that it's going to work? Like, why is it going to work this time? That is what James is talking about. So when we talk about our identity, no matter what it is that we're investing in, no matter what outcome we're looking for, if we don't know who we are and those beliefs that back whatever action it is we're going to take, ultimately the results, the guaranteed momentum and success are only going to consistently come. It might come if you do it the wrong way, but it's not going to be consistent momentum and results. It might happen. But in order to guarantee, you got to start from the inside out. You got to start from the identity of understanding your beliefs, of your perspectives on life, on who you are, on what it is that you enjoy doing, what it is that you are good at doing, and can connect with the people you've been called to serve. So I open the book and I'm reading these, and as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking identity, system, outcome, user experience, design. Oh my gosh, there's a direct connection here. And that was my aha moment to really understanding, okay, this is not just about going into a small SaaS company, talking to the CEO, getting in lunch and saying, listen here, here's your business objective goals for the coming quarter. This is what your product team is executing on. And here's a team dysfunction. And here's a roadmap for the next X amount of time, right? It's not, that's important. That's good. That's needed. And that's not happening today, unfortunately, as much as it should. But that's all good. But there's so much more here. And that's what really ended up starting the action mapping method. And so for those of you who have been reaching out and asking, okay, so do you do any more UX? Do you do any more? And the answer is, I do UX all the time. User experience design is something really that we all do, because whether you're a coach, a consultant, if you are a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, if you are just on here because you are just sharing your thoughts and connecting with other people, right? A parent, a child, a neighbor, a friend, right? No matter who you are or what you do, we are constantly working this cycle of user experience design, of really, number one, understanding for ourselves, right? Who am I? What are the systems and structure I have for myself? And what is the desired outcome I'm hoping to accomplish? By the way, I do this every single morning. This is the type of thing that I do every morning. I do at the beginning of every week. I do at the beginning of every month, right? This is just a framework that can be scaled or expanded. It's just one of those fluid, flexible frameworks and just ways to get into the right mindset. But if once you understand for yourself, then you have to say to yourself, okay, so now we're on Substack, right? And you have your publication and you have to say, what is my publication, right? The identity. What, who is this Substack? What are the core values? What is it that I'm sharing, the identity of what it is you're creating. And if you haven't started a publication, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're, offering a product or service, whatever you might be, early stage, startup CEO, really think for yourself, okay, the client, the customer, right? Fill in the blank for your industry, whoever it is. Who are they? Where are they? Meet them where they're at. Who are they? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are their challenges? Where are they? Right? Who are these people and what are they currently struggling with? What's a challenge for them? Meet them where they're at. And then think to yourself, okay, what system or what structure do they need? Are they lacking? Do they have it? Right? Because without the structure, the third layer, the outcome, it's just not going to consistently happen. Because if you don't have a structure to be able to hold the framework or the desired outcome, it's just going to fall apart. Right? So James Clear, we're working from the inside out. You know who your client is. You know who your ideal customer, your avatar, whatever it is, your user. Okay. You know who they are. You know what the process or the system or the structure is that they either have and need a better version of, or that they need. And then what is their desired outcome? What is it that they need that you can create for or build or help them with, right? What is this desired outcome that they so badly need that you could come along and be this guide for the user to design an experience for them? So that is what I like to call the journey of my UX design career. Because, like I said, it started at a software company as a regular individual contributor on the product team who spoke up a few too many times and learned how to practice the practice of active listening. And that's how it started. And now I am at a place where I'm really able to use so much of those skills, but really it's those underlying fundamental foundational tools that I'm able to tap into to create this user experience design for my clients, but also to help them create it for their business and for their clients. And so I want everyone here to just think about this 3-part process of who you are, identity, right? If we want to go back to the James Clear model, right? Who are you? And understanding, reclaiming your identity, right? In a world where we have been told what to do and how to do it, and every other self-appointed guru online, right, is telling us, no, no, this is the way to do it, right? So get rid of all that noise. Just throw it off and understand what is underneath that pile, that original voice, that desire, that strong desire to make a change and an impact on this world, the you, right? Who is that you? What is that identity? Who does that look like? Get out a piece of paper, map it out, write it out, put it on a sticky note, right? System, okay? System or process or framework, okay? Experience. What does that look like? Right? What does that currently look like? What do you want that to look like? And outcome, what is the outcome that you that you promise to people, but what is the desired outcome that your clients or customers want, and how are you delivering on that? Right? How are you, like, more tactical, right? The outcome, the solution used tends to be more tactical, right? Where the identity is a lot more personal development and self-work. Systems and processes are, the structure piece is really, I like to think of it as a mix of both, because there's tactical tools, but there's also a lot of, self development, personal development, type of work that goes on there also. But understanding that whatever the design solution or outcome is that you're giving, what is it? What is it doing for people? What is it creating? What are you building for people to be able to take it and then, you know, go off and be successful? So that is my journey of UX design. I really believe that we are all user experience designers, in our own way, in our own lives, at our jobs, at home, whatever it might be. But really, the most important is just to remember to go from the inside out, to know who you are and what it is that you have been called to do, who it is that you've been called to serve, and how you can use your passion, your skill, your expertise, and the things that get you excited, to come and just make the world a better place. So that is my talk on UX design. Like I said, for those of you who are familiar with UX, probably not the typical explanation of UX design. And for those of you who did not know about user experience designers, um, I'm excited that you got to hear this perspective, before hearing that UX designers make things look pretty, because there's so much more to UX designers than that. So thank you all for being here and for joining. I would love to hear in the comments, what it is that you took away from today, what you learned, or if you have any questions, feel free to put that into the chat. Um, and yeah, otherwise, have a wonderful day.